did say that Brian Thompson murdered tens of thousands of people. And I really, murdered?
I do believe that insurance companies denying life-saving care is murder. You are one of the millions of Americans in this country that has watched someone that you love and care about deeply suffer and die because an insurance company chose to deny them life-saving care. It is natural to wish the same fate as your loved one on the people responsible for your loved one's death. Again, that is not a very enlightened position. I wish that we could all be kumbaya. However, I think millions of Americans have watched the people they care about die brutal deaths. And I do think that we, again, need to acknowledge the violence of these systems. It is wild to me that we just finished an entire election cycle and healthcare was...
Nobody talked about it.
I mean, look at this. This is a bipartisan issue. This is not something that's on the left or the right. This is something that all Americans are feeling. 62% of Americans, a recent Gallup poll said, believe that it is the federal government's responsibility to provide health care. We are the only developed nation that does not have sort of public health care.
Yeah, but Taylor,
I'm not saying that.
Yeah, I know, but you wrote that people have justified hatred toward insurance company CEOs because these executives are responsible for unfathomable amount of death and suffering. But aren't the real villains members of Congress who have so far lacked the backbone to stand up to the healthcare industry and its legions of lobbyists? That's where change happens.
I completely agree that that's where meaningful change happens. We need to figure out how to hold the system accountable. And I think it is very telling that the Congress people have intentionally downplayed and ignored this issue.
Yeah, I'm just, given the fact that you have a platform, and listen, I can read what people are posting too, and I hear what they're saying too. And I've had my own battles with insurance companies. It's infuriating, and it can be heartbreaking when you're facing a life-threatening condition. But to continue to talk about these CEOs are murdering people, when it's Congress, it's up to Congress to change the laws. These guys are just doing their jobs and making money.
Well, exactly. And that is blood money. And I would say it is quite an unethical business to be in. I think if I was making a living denying people life-saving health care, I would really question my life choices. That said, as you mentioned, there are lots of parasitic, terrible, evil businesses out here in America. The healthcare industry is not the only one. We also have oil and gas, doing terrible things. We need lawmakers to take this seriously. We need to keep the focus on people in power. And lawmakers and the media need to make people feel heard. Because again, right now we're seeing unprecedented levels of radicalization on this issue. People are feeling like the media and these lawmakers are scolding them instead of making them feel heard. And so we really need people in power to listen to the public, listen to the American public, and take their anger seriously, because this is a barbaric system that desperately needs reform.
Taylor Lorenz, thanks so much for coming on and sharing that. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.